There was such a funny moment. He said, I think we actually have it. Let's play this moment of Barack Obama talking about social media. Who could ever have imagined that social media would do these things to the country? This was, again, from that conversation last night with Steve Scully.
What happened is that how we got information changed. And it was turbocharged by social media. And suddenly you have a big chunk of the country who the reality they're receiving every day is entirely different than the reality I'm receiving.
Just go back and Google Barack Obama, Silicon Valley. Look at those articles from when he was leaving office about how he brought Silicon Valley to Washington. This man oversaw so many mergers that consolidated power in the hands of Mark Zuckerberg and others, that for him to speak so passively about the effects of social media when these were happening, monoculture was crumbling before our very eyes during his presidency. And you can argue that some of it may have been inevitable, sure, but his public policy pushed it through at an accelerated rate. A lot of these mergers probably should have been challenged, and the power of Silicon Valley should have been challenged instead of treating these companies with nothing but reverence and optimism and boosting them to the hilt, basically, for his entire presidency, and actually even before he was president. So that's another amusing, but actually pretty typical Obama comment about just things that he had something to do with, passively observing them, like 10 years later or 5 years later, or actually even in real time. That's something that he was known to do, of course. So, what Batya was really getting at is these companies that did have this concentrated power in the hands of so few people, they weren't necessarily, her point about the Supreme Court case on Biden and Meta was a really interesting one, because they didn't necessarily need to have their arms twisted Facebook didn't need to have its arm twisted by the government to add that you could choose from 52 genders or whatever it was when that happened. Of course, the government did that to schools with Title IX, but these corporations didn't necessarily need that because there was this intense synergy between the corporations and the faculty lounges and the Obama administration millennial staffers and all of that. It was a perfect storm for what started to feel like a complete ostracization and Josh Hawley campaigned on this. I remember because I covered his campaign. He said back in 2018 when he was first running for the Senate, he would, in his stump speech, talk about Hollywood, Washington, and Wall Street. And that's what conservatives felt like for at least 10 years, that these institutions had entirely closed ranks and had entirely been usurped or dominated by the left in a way that the power was being leveraged to shut down conservatives. And there's evidence of that in every single one of these industries and institutions. Like, think about DEI and ESG from Wall Street. Think about Operation Choke Point, which is a little joint effort. Think about Silicon Valley. Think about all of it. Basically, maybe the only place that the left could still make the argument was dominated by the Republican Party. You could have maybe said that about the Pentagon, but the Pentagon was going full DEI and the like as well, as conservatives were separating themselves from those old, quote, Republican foreign policies anyway. And so for the right, there will be no tears spilled because Jimmy Kimmel says something awful, is suspended for a couple of days. And it looks like in the process, a couple of corporations are trying to get a merger out of it or favorable treatment from the government. Nobody's going to cry. It doesn't mean that it's the ideal circumstance. But in this case, ABC actually, does have to act in the public interest. Recently, I learned about colostrum. Have you heard about colostrum? I always want to do a Trump impression when I'm talking about, known as liquid gold that babies receive from their mothers after birth. It's packed with proteins, natural growth factors, antimicrobial peptides that work to enhance your immune response, reduce inflammation, repair and balance gut lining, reduce bloating, and make your hair and skin look amazing. Today's sponsor, Cowboy Colostrum, offers the highest quality cow colostrum. Highest quality cow colostrum available in the U.S., 100% made in America from 100% American grass-fed cows. They're the best cows, folks. They don't overprocess or strip their colostrum, leaving it whole, full fat, and high protein for ultimate nutrient density. It is the highest quality bovine colostrum you can buy, and it's easy to drink, made with delicious natural ingredients and no artificial flavors. It really is easy to drink. Simply add a 3 gram scoop of either the chocolate, Madagascar vanilla, or strawberry in your coffee or smoothie, or actually even in milk. It's really tasty. For a limited time, our listeners get up to 25% off their entire order. Just head to cowboycolostrum.com/afterparty and use code AFTERPARTY at checkout. That's 25% off when you use code AFTERPARTY at cowboycolostrum.com/afterparty. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them, so please support our show and tell them our show sent you. Say, I came from Afterparty for the best cows.